I know you've heard the stories, but they all sound too good to be true. You've heard about a place called home, but there doesn't seem to be one for you. So one more night you cry yourself to sleep and drift off to a distant dream.
I'm Amory Tice and I am 14 years old. I was 4 months old when I was adopted from Guatemala. My original name was Maria, and my mother, or my birth mother, kept it. It was Maria Luisa, and then my mom now changed it to Anne Marie for her grandmother. My full name now is Anne Marie Luisa Tice, but it was Maria Luisa Segura Castro, so that's long.
My name is Kobe Combs, and I'm 16. I was 11 years old when I was adopted.
My name is Tayton Smith, and I'm 14 years old. The day I found out that I was adopted, I was 5 years old.
My name is Paul Combs, and I am 14 years old.
My name is Juliet Combs, and I'm 9 years old.
Hi, my name is Jan Murray, and I was adopted at right around 3.5 years old.
The day I was found out, I went to school, and then I got checked out, and then went to the DHS office, and then my DHS worker told me that I was getting adopted, and then my mom showed up. That was going to adopt me. Catherine Combs and Patrick Combs. Having a family that really cares about me and will take care of me and do whatever it takes for me to get a better life and a better situation.
Best thing about being adopted is probably having a family that is there for you and knowing that you're wanted.
The day I found out I was going to be adopted, we were at Magic Springs, and our mom had received a call from DHS that said that we were going to stay with them forever. The best thing about being adopted is that you have parents that are there for you at all times, and that you have people that are willing to take care of you.
I was at Lake Hamilton in first grade, and my mom checked me out, and she said that I was going to be adopted.
And how did you feel?
I felt happy and safe that I have a new home. The greatest thing about being adopted is that you have a safe home and safe parents that love you and take care of you.
Well, I always kind of knew I was adopted since I didn't really look like my parents, but when I found out, I was in 2nd grade and we had to do an All About Me because I was Student of the Week, and I got to bring a book and I got to show all my classmates that I was adopted from Guatemala. So my mother, my birth mother, she was really young, so she couldn't really afford to take care of me, and she wanted me to have a better life. So her and my birth father decided that to put me up for adoption so I could have a better life. I think it's really interesting to some people being adopted from another country. A lot of them ask if I can speak Spanish, but I can't. But I guess people really like enjoying my story and anyone else who's adopted. I would love to go to Guatemala, where I grew up, or where I was adopted from, and I would want to meet them. I don't really speak Spanish, so it would kind of be difficult to interact with them, but I would definitely want to see them and learn more about where I came from. I would ask them if they're doing well, and I would ask them how the years have gone by, and I do think about them, so I would want to ask my birth mother and my birth father if they ever thought about me and how I was doing, because I know I would, or I do. So I could imagine adopting a child in my future. I would really want them to have a good life with a good family, maybe even a dog, but I really want to watch a child grow up and have an amazing life. So Before Hurricane Katrina, my papers went through the adoption process, and after Hurricane Katrina, the immigration building got destroyed during the hurricane, and all the paperwork got destroyed from all the other adoptions. So mine was one of the last ones to go through. So after it went through, and everything happened with Hurricane Katrina, my family got to come to Guatemala on time and pick me up and adopt me. So I think God really helped me and helped my family during that time to stay safe, and I think He really wanted a better life for me, and He proved that by letting my papers go through. My biggest blessing for being adopted was probably that I ended up with a great family that loves me, and although I have an annoying brother, I still love him, and I have animals, and I really enjoy where I'm at right now.
Well, because when I wasn't really adopted, my parents didn't even speak about Christ until I actually got adopted, and then I went to church every Sunday. Started going Wednesdays because my mom's friends.
Bringing my brothers to my mom that was gonna adopt us.
When I was a little kid, I was doing a bunch of bad stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing, and then didn't believe in God at all. But when I got into this family, we went to church every day, and then they taught me the right things I was supposed to do, and then grew my faith in God. I want to grow up to be a coach and then adopt a couple kids.
When I was born in Chicago, and my parents were not married, and my mother already had one daughter from a previous marriage, plus she had my full sister. Everything seemed fine for about the first probably 9-10 months of my life. And then my dad, who unfortunately was an alcoholic, went on a binge and they lost everything. And he was not in the picture for quite a while. I spent my first full summer living in a city park. And that winter, being in Chicago, and of all places, Skid Row, for those of you who know anything about Chicago, it's a horrible place to be. We literally went from house to house, and my mother would knock on doors and beg for someone to take us in so we did not freeze to death overnight. And finally she realized she had to do something. She called the authorities. We were turned over to Lutheran Child Welfare, and my oldest sister went to her paternal grandmother, and my full sister went to our maternal grandmother, and I went into foster care for the following 2 years. And I was in and out of 6 different homes. And some of the experiences were good and some were really bad. When I finally got to my forever home, my mom really had a basket case on her hands. And it took a while because I was pretty messed up emotionally, physically, mentally. But bless her heart, she was a jewel. And the whole family was awesome. I grew up a rather angry, hurt, a total lack of self-worth individual. I felt like I was a throwaway child. And she had to work really hard. I mean, my whole family actually worked really hard to put me back together again. And as I grew up and everything, I mean, like I say, I couldn't have had a better childhood. And when I was 50, my birth mother found me, which was quite a surprise. And I received a letter from Lutheran Child Welfare requesting whether or not I wanted to meet her. And I had always said I would not because I was so angry at her. And it was the best thing I ever did in my life was to meet her, because once I met her, I discovered that the 2 little girls I remember seeing back in the orphanage were actually my sisters, and I had believed all along that I did have 2 sisters. And she had moved on. She had 3 more little girls after me. And I got to meet the oldest one of that group, which was just fascinating. It just opened a whole new door of family and learning, and it was a healing event. It was a huge healing event. And later on, many years later, just very recently, I have discovered my birth dad's family. He was previously married, and although my birth parents were themselves not married. And I discovered that I had another half-sister and half-brother. And now I have a whole slew of nieces and nephews, and trying to learn about all of them, it's quite a surprise. I think what has been the biggest revelation to me is how the mistakes of our parents, and they're human, can spill over and create a lot of heartache for future generations, which it did on both sides. And what we went through and what those around us did to help us get back on our feet and get on with life. And it's, I don't regret being adopted. I think it was just the most wonderful experience. And I don't know how, out of my mother's 6 girls that she had, that I feel had the biggest blessing, because I was totally removed from all this complete chaos that I was in and put into a solid, steady home and raised and put back together again so I could be a normal, functioning human being. And, I will be eternally grateful to them. From the age of 50 forward, I finally had a sense of self-worth. So here, like literally 23 years later, it's amazing that I'm still healing, I think. And I said, from that, I feel like kids need to be told the truth, and told it in a kindly way, and told it at a level that they can understand. And this, just going forward with forgiveness for the healing it gives to you, yourself, because you don't have that anymore. It's never going to control you again once you let go of it. And we weren't adopted by accident. We were adopted by design, I think. To have really gone through these things and to realize how important we are is just, it is really important that kids talk about this, talk about your feelings. Don't be afraid. In my growing up days, you couldn't talk about those things. I couldn't articulate, that I was angry and why I was angry. Now, we can talk about those things, and that's so important. That's so healing. This whole adventure has been one of tremendous healing, and I hope for other kids it is too. I really do. There's no question, no doubt in my mind that I don't know how I was so blessed, but he took me away from the possibility of 2 abusive homes, because my oldest half-sister's family were very abusive, and my birth mother's family had been extremely abusive to her, which is why she ran away and married the first person who showed any interest in her, and then realized that was a mistake. So I could have grown up in that atmosphere. And what's so sad is my father was an alcoholic. My half-brother was an alcoholic and died young. My full sister was not only an alcoholic, she was also a drug addict. And she led a fairly miserable life and is also deceased. And I escaped that by the grace of God, totally by the grace of God. I have escaped that. And I have just been mind-boggled by the goodness of God in what He has done in my life. And I often pinch myself, and I'll ask my husband, I said, how in the world was I the one that was so blessed, and the other ones don't seem to have been as anywhere near as blessed as I. And it's just amazing what God will do.
That if they wait longer, something good will happen because God will put it in their life, and then a great family would be coming to adopt them.
People that are in foster care, you have a family out there that loves you, and Jesus Christ will bring you there.
Where love takes you in, and everything changes. A miracle starts with the beat of a heart. When love takes you home and says you belong here, the loneliness ends and a new life begins. When